everyone, thank you so much for joining me today. So in today's video we're going to be making a cute card, a new home card using this Mellow Moments paper pad. I'm really trying to make an effort to use my paper pads up, so that's what we're going to be using today. It's perfect for autumn. It's got all these lovely gorgeous gold, brown and red tones. So I've already gone ahead and picked out a couple of sheets that I'm going to use, and I've already, the first layer with the trees and the birds, I've already put it onto a white card base just to make it a little bit more stronger. I'm going to be using these gorgeous decorative frames from Funky Fossil Designs, and I already have one cut out in my stash, and I'm just going to use that as a template because I really want to cut a rectangle out that's about the same size. So I'm just using that to kind of line up my dies and make sure that I can just find a rectangle that's going to fit that perfectly for an aperture. So first of all, we're going to line that aperture die up on the card front, and I'm just using my T-ruler just to make sure that that's nice and straight. I'm then going to come in with some low tack tape, and to take some of the tackiness off this, because it's not really low tack. It is low tack tape, but it's not very low tack. I rubbed it on my jeans first. You'll see that I'm still struggling to get it off the paper without ripping it. So if you have that problem, here's a little tip. Use your heat gun. Just heat it up gently on the lowest setting until you can remove the tape. It kind of loosens the adhesive without tearing the paper. So as you can see, I didn't do it on the second piece. When I see that it starts to catch, I then bring back in the heat gun, and that just loosens it up. So yeah, it's just a little tip if you find that your tape is sticking to the paper. So I'm going to use the other layer to be behind the window and as a matte layer, and I'm just using my pencil just to go around that aperture window so that I know exactly where the aperture is going to be. And then I'm going to use these stamp sets. So I've got the Woodland Minis from Funky Fossil Designs, and then I've got an older stamp set which is basically a similar version of that one, but it has a few extra elements such as trees. I don't think that one's available anymore, but I will leave a link to the mini one below. And I'm just going to use the Versafine Clear Acorn ink, so this is like a brown colour. And I'm just going to stamp those trees where that window aperture is going to be. So I'm just inking them up and stamping them. They're lovely silhouette images. And here's another little crafty hack. If you find that you've stamped a silhouette image and it's not giving you the crisp coverage that you wanted, so when I lift this image up now, you'll see there's a bit of a hole in the trees. Basically, something was stuck to my stamp. So what I've done is I've got a Q-tip, I've inked it up, and I'm just going to rub that in the gap. And then as you can see, it dries perfectly and no one would know. So my focal image is going to be this little cute house die. These were from Funky Fossil Designs as well. I've got this beautiful Decadant Ruby embossing powder, which was part of a trio from Wow Embossing Powder. And I'm just going to ink up a little bit of a white card panel with some of that embossing powder. It's beautiful gold and red tones here. So I think it's gold, well, it's basically gold embossing powder with red coloured embossing powder in as well. And it's absolutely beautiful. And all I'm going to do is die cut that little house from that panel, and then that is going to be the focal image on the card. So once I pop that out with my pokey tool, I can then work out where it's going to line up in the aperture. I thought I'd use a little heart as well, but I decided not to here. So I'm just going to add some quick grab glue to the back of that, and then I'm just going to stick that down. I'm just using the pin here and my finger just to remove a little bit of excess glue that had oozed through. And then once that's completed, then I'm happy to stick that lovely aperture over the top that we've created this frame. Now I've sped this process up really fast for you because I haven't got any frame tape left, and so I've just got these squares that I'm trying to use up. So I've just took all the backing paper off, added some glue so that I've got a little bit of wiggle room to line that window up, and then once I'm happy with my placement, I'm able just to push that down, make sure all the frame pads have got good contact with the layer underneath, and then that's our window. Now I'm going to add the frame. I don't want to add it in black. I want to use one of the embossing powders from the new trio from Funky Fossil Designs. But first of all, I'm going to die cut that frame 3 times and glue it together. I'm going to use some Liquitex matte medium for this. I'm just bringing in a scrap of paper just to make it a little bit easier so I don't make a mess on my desk. And I'm just going over the frames with a paintbrush and sticking them together, and I'm going to do that for all 3 layers. Once they're all stuck together and the glue has had a chance to just set for a minute, I'm then going to come back in and heat emboss it. And I'm going to be using the Tarnished Treasure embossing powder, which is from the gorgeous new Timeless trio from Funky Fossil Designs. If you saw my video that I posted on Friday, you'll have already seen a glimpse of those powders. already. If you haven't seen it yet, do check it out. It features some really nice products from Funky Fossil Designs. It just gives a little bit more inspiration of how to use your stencils with embossing powders as well. So I've just covered that frame over in the embossing powder, and I'm just using my tweezers just to pull it out. I decided I really wanted to try and heat set from underneath so that I didn't blow off all the ultra high particles, but it just wasn't working, and so I ended up bringing in my cork mat and just trying to finish it off like that. So I did lose some of the ultra high particles, but it really didn't affect the overall finished frame. So once that's all heat set, you can see how gorgeous and shimmery that looks, and it's nice and sturdy because we've got 3 layers of cardstock together. So I'm just adding some glue all around the frame, and then I'm going to stick that around the aperture that we've already created, and it just frames the image of the house with the trees. I just think it's really pretty. For a sentiment, I'm going to come back in with this small stamp set from Funky Fossil Designs called Home. It's got a lovely sentiment that says home is the nicest word there is. And I just think it makes a really cute and pretty new home card. So that's what I'm going to use today. I'm going to heat emboss it on some black cardstock using some Wow Superfine white embossing powder. So I've just come in with my Antistatic Powder Bag because white heat embossing on black cardstock is notoriously difficult because you just can end up with white specks all over the black, and I really am particular about liking my white heat embossing to be quite crisp. So once I've done that, I'm able to just heat set that, and you'll see that once it's heat set, you've got a really lovely crisp, clear white heat emboss sentiment. Using this Superfine embossing powder really helps here as well. So if you're struggling with heat embossing white on black, maybe try using a Superfine embossing powder. If you're using a regular powder, the grains can be a little bit bigger, and so you don't always get the same crisp image when you're stamping something that's detailed like a sentiment. So once that's cut down to size, I'm going to round the corners with my corner rounder punch. This is an envelope punch that I've got, and I'm just going to add some foam squares on the back of that, and then pop that nice and centered in the bottom of the card front. I've then lost the bit of footage where I stuck it to a black matte layer and then to the 6x6 card base, so I'm sorry about that, but here is the finished card for today. So thank you so much for joining me. I really hope that you've enjoyed this video. I hope that it's given you some inspiration, and as always, please don't forget to like and subscribe if you've enjoyed this and would like to see more from my channel. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care.